All right, this is going to be a little tricky to try and do, but because I got my phone for the recording, and then I have my iPad for the monitoring, I'm recording my Sennheiser MKH 416 on my computer into Audacity, and then the Zoom M3 MultiTrak field recorder shotgun mic combo thing is recording all on its own, and I'm going to have to sync this up later, so hopefully everything should be fine. And I will be switching back between the two, and I'll be changing these headphones from here to here, all that kind of stuff. Here we go. Alrighty, hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I am doing a microphone review of a very interesting microphone. I wanted my own 32-bit float recorder. There's a couple projects that I have coming up that I wanted the flexibility of being able to record something at 32-bit float, and that way I could basically hand off the audio device to someone else, or maybe someone who's not as experienced, and then not have to worry about the levels and the audio peaking, just as long as they're, booming over the subject. Everything should be fine. And then I saw this particular microphone, which is the Zoom M3 MultiTrak. It is a 32-bit float field recorder, which is basically it's an all-in-one self-contained system. It's the shotgun mic and the recorder built in one package, and it's 32-bit float. And I think you can find it for about $160 US, give or take. And that surprised me, because normally, as an all-in-one device, especially one that's 32-bit float, it's very hard to come by, especially when it comes to finding something that's 32-bit float. However, 32-bit float devices have become a lot more common, which is very surprising, that there are so many out there. There are 32-bit float lavalier systems that don't transmit a signal that's 32-bit float. That's very hard to do, but they're also a kind of a recorder built in. They're basically a small field recorder that you can attach a lavalier to, so they record internally. Very much the same as this one. And Zoom has actually been knocking it out of the park with having a variety of 32-bit float options. They have so many microphones within their brand that covers a lot of dynamic mics, more like studio microphones, shotgun mics, various different field recorders, small field recorders, large field recorders, mixers. This guy, this is actually from a previous generation. They have a brand new generation of microphones and field recorders and stuff like that out, and this is technically an older device. But after getting my hands on it and trying it out, and at first not being super impressed, and there was a little bit of trickiness, there was a little bit of weirdness with listening back to the audio, because I started to get a little worried, because listening to it in your headphones, directly attached to the device, it's going to clip in your headphones. If you scream, it's going to clip. All right, so I'm not too sure where in the video I'm going to put this in the editing process, but I'm currently editing the video that you are watching. Again, it's kind of confusing sometimes, but I have the audio from the microphone in here in the software. In Audacity. But this has been adjusted, and I want to show you what it looks like completely raw. So here are the audio files. There was an issue with the camera. It overheated, so I had to cut it and hit record like 2 more times. So that's why there's 3. So I'm going to grab, I mean, either one of these is totally fine. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to drop this in here. Hopefully it'll be totally fine. Not mess anything up. There we go. Okay, so this is what it looks like normally. As you can see up here, I have separated them in Audacity because, and here's the video file. If you were to just drop the audio directly into your video editing software and it is not 32-bit float capable, then it's still going to peak like this. It's still going to, exceed past 0 dB. And I had a screaming test, and you can see that that is absolute garbage. And because Sony Vegas is 24-bit, even if I was to normalize this, it's just going to be cut off. It's lost all that information. So I have to go into Audacity, take the audio file, and it records 2. And one of them, and I think that's because it has multiple capsules. So one of these is actually the audio facing backwards, I think, or off to the sides, and then one of them is just the forward-facing shotgun capsule. And because this Audacity is, what are my preferences? There we go. Because I have it set to 32-bit float naturally, so anytime I turn it on, that's automatically what it's set to. It's capable of dealing with this information. And then I have it at 96. So what I do now is, in order so that I can isolate it and work with it, I split them into mono tracks. I don't know why I did that. Like I did with all the others. And then now I can normalize these. Whoop. Where are you? Oh, I don't know why I'm looking right at it. Normalize to, we're going to go to 2.5. Boop, there we go. Because it has the loud clicks, these incredibly loud like snaps in order to sync the audio, which was all past 0 dB. Like all that information was past 0 dB. So this, still had all that information past there, and then normalizing it, like that's what you get. All that information. It's the closest to like shooting in log that you can get with audio. And then same thing here. I mean, this right here. So this is a prime example of how these are not the same capsules that you're getting in the same format. So basically what it's doing is that it's recording multiple capsules in different directions, putting them in 2 separate tracks, in a left channel and right channel in a stereo file, and then exporting that at 48 kilohertz at 32-bit float. So it's doing very little work in the exporting of the file. It's just compiling all this information and putting it raw into the audio and then sending it to you. You have no way of labeling this. You have no way of changing any of this information before it's exported. This is literally what you get, which is not a problem. I would rather have more information than less, because now if I was to select from like here to here, and then I was to normalize, like all that's beautiful. That's clean. That's beautiful. I can use this. And so that's what I did up here with all of these. I'm going to mute these ones right now. I'm going to play this for a second. And this is what it sounds like. I'm just going to play this. Turn the headphones down. Nope, come on a little bit further. Of being able to record something at 32-bit float. And that way I could basically hand off the audio device. So this is clearly the the directional, like straight on facing capsule. And so now we have this one, and I'm going to play from basically the same point. Being able to record something at 32-bit float, and that way I could basically hand off the audio device to someone else, or maybe someone who's not as experienced. And that is clearly the left and right kind of stereo capsule thing that it has in it. Because clearly I'm off axis, because I'm speaking more down the barrel in the video. So that's what this one is. So and I think this one was the right channel, and this one was the left channel. So one of those two channels is going to be the direct facing shotgun capsule, and the other one is going to be the kind of like omnidirectional. So if you have any handling noise or you have any button clicks noise, that is going to be in this track right here, because that is the one that is going to be the capsules that are facing towards the buttons or facing kind of towards the shock mount or anything like that. And then this one is going to be the actual shotgun mic. You're going to get less of the handling noise, you're going to get less of the room noise, you're going to get less of the left and right. So the reason I'm telling you this is I have to actually export these as, like, choose the right channel. Obviously this one would not be the one. I'll be choosing this one. And then export these files as normalized, and then put them into Sony Vegas. I have to, because if I still have it as the 32-bit float, and the information is past 0, that's all going to get clipped off in Sony Vegas. So I have to normalize them before I export them. Because in here, these were all the channels, these were all like the audio files just raw. And then this one is from the Sennheiser, the Senhiezer MKH 416. So now I have to get the raw audio from the M3. I'm telling you this because this was a lot of work. This is very crazy. This is more channels than I've ever had to work with in just a 2-mic comparison video. And to let you know that if you buy this microphone and you're listening back to it and it sounds terrible, you're listening to the wrong channel. You're listening to the one that is the omnidirectional and not, or the stereo. I need to get some more information on it. And not the straight directional microphone. Okay? Heads up on all of that. All right, back to the regular video. So for those who don't know what 32-bit float means, 32-bit float is, so the standard is 16-bit or 24-bit. That's pretty much the standard when it comes to audio recording, when it comes to interfaces. 32-bit float, however, means that if something exceeds past 0 dB, the ceiling of the audio, there's still that information there. It's exceeded, like, even though it looks like it's clipped, it hasn't actually clipped. There's still information. It's still retaining that information past the ceiling of the audio. Now, the headphones, I think it's because it's a standard 3.5 millimeter jack, and so you're kind of limited on, the sound quality and the bit rate through, headphone jack. The audio is still going to sound like it clips. But when you go back to the audio itself, it's totally fine. It's totally fine. Now, this is one thing that, another kind of quirk that I had to kind of work out and kind of figure out, is that this device, if the software that you take the audio and put it into isn't 32-bit float, you're not going to have all that information. It's going to look like it's still clipped. It's going to look like it's still peaked. Because translating 32-bit float to 24-bit means anything past the ceiling is gone. But if you drop this into Audacity set at 32-bit float, you're still going to have all that information. All that information is there. And another kind of weird quirk, and it's not a setting that I've activated, it records 2 different versions of the audio, which are essentially the exact same size. Both of them are 32-bit float. One of them, and they're both in stereo as well. It's basically copying the exact same audio. and just putting it in a left channel and right channel, and it's identical. And it's still 32-bit float. But it also has a second file that has a slightly quieter version in the right channel of one of those files. They're exactly the same size. All files are 32-bit float, so it has all that information, but one of the files that it records simultaneously has a slightly quieter, but by like 10 to 15 dB option. It's a quieter option, and I don't understand why it does that. It really doesn't feel necessary, but it's recording it just fine. There's another really interesting feature about this device. It has a low cutoff, which is great when you're booming and you don't want a lot of wind noise. Maybe you want to cut out a little bit of the traffic noise. It's not going to cut out that much, but you can cut out a little bit of the wind noise with that. So that's nice that that is included, because this has no screen. This has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buttons on top. It's got the headphone buttons, and that's it. It's got a record, it's got a stop and start play, so you can listen back to whatever the last track that you recorded was, and then it has the on and off switch, the on and off button, which is right there, and then it has this, which I'm probably not going to use at all, and it's interesting, and I could see some reasons why you might have it, but it has a stereo level option, because this is technically a stereo microphone. It has multiple capsules. But I have it at off, so technically it's just recording in fake mono, or mono, but it's still splitting the two mono tracks. Again, it's kind of weird. But then it does have a 90-degree stereo and 120-degree stereo option. So because it has multiple capsules, you can kind of widen its kind of field of focus. You got to give it a little bit broader of a sound. So maybe because it's not a very long microphone. So if you have two people talking and they're relatively far apart, you can kind of have it between them and try and, angle the boom towards them as each person is talking. But if you widen the stereo a little bit, give it maybe like the 90-degree, you have a little bit more room to play with. It's less likely that that the person you're not aiming the mic directly at is going to get blocked off. Or if they're close enough, you can just have it directly between them and then just kind of widen its focus. I guess that's what it's for. It's an interesting feature. I personally wouldn't be using it all that much, but it's nice that it is there. Now, that is obviously not what I normally review microphones for on this channel. This channel is very much a podcast style talking head, but mostly focusing on voiceover. And here is where it becomes very important for you guys. So, and this is why I thought it would be a good mic to review and talk about. Because it is 32-bit float. And it's almost impossible, not impossible, but almost impossible to actually clip this audio. If you don't have a mixer, or you don't have enough flexibility in whatever audio interface you might be able to get your hands on, getting this instead, which is an all-in-one, could basically save all of your audio. It's as simple can be. You turn it on, you hit record, you do all of your lines and not worry about whether or not the audio is clipping, because it's not going to. Even if it gets really, really quiet, you can turn the gain up. You can boost it in post, and you're not going to be getting a lot of that kind of digital noise that you would with other audio devices or other interfaces or mixers or microphones. because again, it's retaining a lot more information in both directions than recording on 24-bit. So because this is 32-bit, you can basically just hit record, make sure that you're on mic, and then that's it. And then just send them the file. It's as simple as that. And this is going to be something that anyone who's trying to get into especially character work, where you might be doing a lot of video game, you might be doing a lot of screaming, that's what this is going to be for. Absolutely. And again, it's self-contained. It's one thing. Now, there are a few issues. Number one, it needs AA batteries, which, as long as you get like some rechargeables, you get a pack of 4 normally, and then the thing to plug them in, then basically you're always going to have, fresh batteries. You're always going to be on cycle of recharging new batteries. It does have a kind of a USB-C port on it, which I think can provide it power. It's hard to tell because, again, there's not a lot of lights or indicators. There's no screen. But if I remember correctly, in the manual, you can provide it power externally. So you could hook it up. Now, I haven't been able to get this to work as a microphone on your computer. I don't know if that's a function, but there is software where you can kind of control some things on the mic or something like that. You can format it and all this kind of stuff. The software that comes with the microphone is probably the worst part of it. It's essentially useless. I don't see any reason of me using it. It's not easy to get files off of it. I don't understand the function of it. And this microphone doesn't seem to work as an actual microphone when plugged in directly to your computer, so I don't really understand the point. You will have to, of course, take out the micro USB off the back out of there, which is another kind of bummer. I would have actually preferred a larger, SD card, not micro USB, micro SD. I don't remember what I said, but I would have preferred a larger SD card on this device than one of those small ones, which are the easiest thing on the planet to lose. Easiest thing. But you can get some, little micro SDs that have, 32, maybe 100 gigs on them. And that's more than enough space that you will need for anything. And then just make sure that you have an adapter or one of those little like dongles that you can plug in to your computer, and then there's the file. So it's a little bit of extra steps, but because it is a 32-bit float, and because it has live monitoring, and because it is self-contained, for anyone who is just building their studio, for anyone who doesn't know what to do with audio, so anyone who doesn't, know how to use a mixer or know the proper settings for their gain, or maybe doesn't know what microphone to get, or all this kind of stuff, someone who's very, very new, this is all in one. And it comes with the kind of little, the mount, what am I trying to say? The anti-vibration shock mount. Sure. And it does come with a little foam wind cover, which actually works really good. I've been speaking right into the mic. There's maybe been like 1 or 2 that I've caught, plosives, but ultimately, this is great. Yes, you do have to kind of take this off or kind of rotate it in a kind of weird way to get to the battery pack on the bottom. You got to kind of like, you can rotate this so that you can get to the battery pack on the shock mount. But it's still very kind of tricky. Essentially, you just take it off, open it up, put in the battery. So anytime you have to... All right, well, looks like my phone is about to die. I have it plugged up to a big brick, but it's also like overheating. So before we end this review, finish talking about this, we're going to do a scream test. And I am going to show you that everything's going to be fine. It's going to sound horrible in my headphones, but everything is going to be fine. I also want to do this before anyone gets here, because I think Yeah, there's nobody in the other room, so this will be fine. Captain, we've been surrounded! There's planes and tanks incoming! Snipers on all the roofs! We gotta get everyone out of here! Captain, we've been surrounded! There's planes and tanks incoming! Snipers on all the roofs! We gotta get everyone out of here! Captain, we've been surrounded! There's planes and tanks incoming! Snipers on all the roofs! We gotta get everyone out of here! Ooh, boy. All right, so, I'm probably going to show you what that looks like. Probably going to show you a picture of what that looks like. The audio. Do a little screenshot probably now. There you go. And yeah, this is an excellent device because it's self-contained. It's 32-bit float. It's also a shotgun mic, so it's going to reject a lot of outside or off-axis noises, anything behind or off to the side. You can also take it anywhere because it is so small. There's a couple things that I will note that this is plastic, and so its durability and longevity, be careful with it. I cannot promise that this thing will still be lasting years down the line. It is $160, which for a device like this does seem a bit low, but that's also probably because it's been around for so long. And because it's essentially still just one channel. You don't have a lot of options with it. But my review, if you're just starting out doing voiceover and you want a microphone that you can scream on and you can't get a mixer that you can do EQ and compression on, and you don't know how to do all that without over-compressing and over-processing your audio in post, or you don't have the flexibility with the interface that you have, whatever your reason is, this might be the microphone for you. I would actually give this character work, video game, maybe even anime, like level of quality. Now, there is an issue, obviously, with connecting this to your computer, so you're not going to be able to do actual ADR sessions with a client overseas. You're not going to be able to hook this up for Zoom. It's limited in that area. Maybe there is a way of doing it, and I just haven't figured it out, or it was a little bit too complicated for me. But ultimately speaking, just recording and self-directing, this is totally fine. All right, to wrap everything up, because this thing is dying on me. Because this is self-contained, because it's like $160, it's 32-bit float, it's a shotgun mic, I would absolutely say that this is great for character work, video game, all that kind of stuff. It's a great mic to start out with. It actually costs about as much as a lot of other really good microphones. It actually costs pretty much the same as the Audio-Technica 87.5R, and it's a little bit longer than it, I think. And I think probably it's the microphone I should have done a side-by-side comparison with, but considering how many wires and how many things I had to connect to make this happen, I kind of don't want to do that, at least not yet. I may do a shootout with all my shotgun mics, this thing included, later on. But anyway, yeah, that's going to be it. I think it's a great microphone. Go ahead and check out any of the links that I provided in this video. If you guys want to see me review anything else or have any questions about this mic, leave that down in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new, like the video if you liked it, dislike if you didn't, totally fine. And yeah, that's going to be it. So until next time, peace.